Okay, there we go. Had to make sure that plugged in, but so what's going on? So, since the tourney does not start until 1, I decided to go ahead and do the episode before, all that gets underway. But yes, we are back with another episode of Train of Thoughts. And it's an online tournament that Grand Kai is hosting. I think sign-ups closed for it already, but the tournament does not start till 1. So I decided to go ahead and do the Train of Thought episode before then. I'm probably going to host his channel, which when I end the podcast, which is twitch.tv/Grand Kai Game. And matter of fact, let me just put it in the chat. You know what? Twitch needs to add like a pinned function. That would be fire. Like for key announcements. But as the channel will be going down on once it's once it begins. So if you want to tune in, that is the channel to go to after this is all over with. But to further get into what we're going to be talking about today, as you can see, the name of the episode is kind of a funny little play off the statement that you hear when someone does something offensive. We're going to be talking about offense and fighting games, so I take offense to that. But should be fun. We pretty much are going to go over, general offense and fighting games, just to help people get a better understanding of how it works and how to apply it in battle. So let's transition. Blow, you see that? The fist in the face. Just pure offense from jump. But so the first thing you thinking about is, offense. You hear that word a lot, and like I said, this is why fighting games are so dope, because you can closely correlate it to sports so well. So in anything competitive, offense is pretty much when it's generally your turn, and that's your opportunity to put points up on the board, to create opportunity, all types of stuff like that, when it's legit your turn. So in other words, to go in a slight bit more detail, what is purpose? The purpose. Why you take such offense, man? Why you take such offense? Why you do that? Why are you like this? Well, of course, the very purpose of offense is to strike and oppose your will on your opponent. And, of course, we all know that there's plenty of ways to do it. There are, however, various ways to apply it during battle. Offense, is pretty much required in order to, per se, put points on the board. Sorry for that little error. The app was acting stupid. So I said, you know what? They know what I mean. But offense is required in order to, like I said, create opportunity. Let me see. Actually, let me get the ginseng playing, y'all. Hold on. I love the ginseng during the podcast because I'm more focused on what I'm talking about as opposed to hearing lyrics. But let me see. Okay, we good. All right, volume perfect. Okay, so in other words, offense is pretty much your sword. Generally when you fight into a war, let's go back into ancient times, you have a sword and you have a shield. Of course, the sword is to strike, the shield is to defend. So we're gonna focus on that sword today. So Um, you're wondering to yourself, okay, so we know what the purpose of offense is. So, what is the offense itself? Well, transition, application. And of course, that just means apply it. So we have your basic attacks, strings / special moves, frame traps, 50-50s, offensive spacing, mix-ups, momentum. So we're going to start at, pretty much, path one. Path one. Yo! Boss, thanks for the host. Appreciate it. Yeah, but so pretty much when it comes to fighting games. Oh, hey, Rich is well with the host. Yo, AXL in the building. Squad. So, but pretty much when it comes to offense, the very beginning is your basic attacks. So your basic attacks are pretty much your normals per se. So like your jab, like Street Fighter for instance, you're standing light, you're standing medium, you're standing heavy, and Tekken left jab or left punch, and then right punch and left kick and right kick. These are your basics. To me, people don't take enough time to understand these moves. Like most people, when it comes to offense, they want to learn, they want to jump all the way up to, further down the list to the more advanced stuff. But you gotta understand your basics first. Yo, Reed, what's up? What's going on? But most people, don't take the time to understand these moves and understand how to fully apply them to help even get toward the other stuff. But take the time. I always tell people, when you're a new player, to take the time to understand these moves and how can you apply them to help make your offense that much stronger. I said case in point for the game I play in my main game, Tekken, your basic attacks can pretty much help you set up other things. It's pretty much the same way in all other games. Like if you want to jab to help set up, let's say you play Street Fighter and you want to jab and then, just to give yourself a little bit of space and then set up your fireball game or, your low forward kick to help also set that up or whatever. Like these basic attacks think of it as like puzzle pieces that can help you put together the entire picture. So I want to jab to per se, okay, so I want to start my offense. So this is the key going into the ignition. And I'm trying to get to where I need to be at. So how am I going to have this basic attack start me up for real? So always when you first, especially when you're learning a new character, always learn like, okay, this. Because without the beginning, how can you get to the middle and end? Most people want to jump straight to the middle. And when you do that, you may have a few times where you're slightly successful, but I can guarantee you that you're going to fail more than succeed. So the basics. Start with the basics every single time. And I would suggest putting time into it too. Like you have to make use of these moves in order to further help progress your offense, because offense can be very intricate, especially once you reach higher levels of play. And it doesn't matter if it's tournament or if it's just casual play, or if you guys, because tournament is just literally competing in a competitive circuit. So that's not the only time you're going to see a high level of play. It's a place where you're highly likely to see it, but that's not the only way you can see it. So, Next, strings slash special moves. You said talk about opening up your opponent. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to. I'm actually going to get to that after I explain strings and special moves. So, most of the time in most fighting games, they have a sequence of attacks and special moves. Now, strings. You're like, what are strings? Well, strings are a combination of moves put together in order to possibly create some of the other situations you even see on the list. And they have different levels, such as, they may start as a high and then go mid, or mid, low, or high, low, mid. It's pretty much a sequence of attacks hitting at different levels in most cases, or at the same level even. But you usually use these typically as, this is the combo, combo part, all of this is pretty much the step right after your basic attacks. Also, you can even technically, quote unquote, string together basic attacks. Not necessarily sequential, but you can use them in a sequence to help, per se, possibly open up your opponent. And then special moves are literally just like if you play Street Fighter or your anime or your Dragon Ball, whichever one, it's usually a move where you input a certain directional sequence and then also at the same time hit a button. Like, for instance, in Tekken with the Mishimas, the electrics, you would typically put in the crouch dash motion and then press triangle or 2 if we're talking Tekken terminology, or Y, or whatever you play on. So, and that's special moves, or Hadouken or Dragon Punch in Street Fighter. Those are all special moves, and these can even be incorporated, like I said, to also help further push your offense. Now, I saw Reed talking about opening up your opponent, and I'm going to get into further detail as we progress through this. But opening up your opponent is pretty much getting your offense to work, and that is at the strongest when we get to momentum. But I'm going to get to that in a little second. So, okay, so you're like, we already talked about basic attacks, we already talked about strings, we already talked about special moves. Now, frame traps and 50-50s. So let's start. Oh no, you good, Reed. This is all about offense, so it's going to be discussed. So you're like, what is frame traps? Well, frame traps are pretty much taking advantage of your turn. Meaning, you heard, if you play fighting games in any way, shape, or form, especially on a competitive level, you hear the terms plus frames and negative frames. Well, frame traps take advantage of these frames, and they take advantage of both, either plus or negative. And I'm going to explain how even negative frames can even cause traps. But plus frames, of course, you're more advantageous, meaning it's definitely your turn. But in order to fully utilize and take advantage of your frame traps, you have to know how to follow up in order to make the trap actually work. So, case in point, let's say you're +3 or +4, and when you make the opponent block, we're going to use an example with block, and then we're going to use an example on knockdown and stuff as well, because this can be pretty vast. So let's say you're +3 on block, and your jab let's see, jabs in Street Fighter are pretty much 4 frames typically, with some being 3 frames. So you do a frame trap, your plus, and then you do jab. You pretty much jail your opponent down, meaning they can't press anything. So I run up, I do a move on block that's +3, and then I do jab. My jab is now 1 frame after that follow-up. So with that follow-up, you can't do anything. And which means if you try to challenge me after that, the odds of me getting a counter hit is very high after that, because you try to challenge after being at disadvantage. And that's pretty much applying that on the offensive thing when you're advantageous. Now on defense, not defense, but on the negative side of things, let's say you're negative, but the move has like a special property, like Reed just put in the chat, Heihachi's forward 3. We're on the Tekken side of things, and Heihachi's forward 3 is -3 on block, but it has pushback. Now, moves that have special properties like pushback or leave you in a crouch position, like force crouches you or and stuff like that, this is where you can apply a trap in case somebody tries to attack. Because in fighting games, when they know that you're at a disadvantage when you do a move, the key instinct to do is attack naturally. But if moves have special properties, you can actually take advantage of them trying to strike back immediately. So again, Heihachi's forward 3 has pushback, meaning when you block it, your character slides back a bit. So it's not plus necessarily, but what the pushback does is create space. So this is when the trap part comes in. Now, okay, I'm -3, so I can't immediately press a button. But with the pushback, I can set you up in case you try to retaliate. So, it does the forward 3. You block it, you get pushed back, and then you immediately try to respond, but you do a move that lacks the range to reach. So you end up whiffing in an attempt to try to retaliate, and you get punished for it. That is using a frame trap utilizing negative frames. Now this varies, of course. It differs from game to game depending on how the properties of the frames, such as how fast attacks are and how plus it can vary from game to game, but the concept still carries over. You just have to make sure you have an understanding of frames to make them work, and that's all in all, how frame traps work. But yo, Token, what's good, brother? Now next we have something you hear in fighting games a lot called 50-50s. Now 50-50s are pretty much how you make your opponent play the guessing game. Now frame traps and 50-50s actually can intertwine because, again, as I described how frame traps work, you can also have 50-50 situations occur. A quick example is, let's say Martial Law in Tekken. He has a move called Poison Arrow that is +7 on block. And in Tekken, the threshold for not being able to truly move is +7 or higher. So when you block that move and the opponent is at +7, you now can do a 50-50 situation or make them guess, am I going to go low? Am I going to go mid? Am I going to go high? Am I going to grab? 50-50s are basically forcing your opponent to make a guess on what you're going to do next. Now these can be very powerful depending on said character's tools and said character's options after these frame traps are taking advantage of their frames or the situation currently at hand. So you have some characters that have very strong 50-50s. You have some characters that have okay 50-50s, and then you have the ones that don't have great ones. The good thing about 50-50s though is that they're generally mind games, and they're most effective when you're in your opponent's head. That, to be honest, that's the time when you really should use them. When you're in your opponent's head, 50-50s, it's what I like to call the blender. Once the blender starts, that's when it could become very frustrating for your opponent, because they're now feeling this pressure that not only are you applying through your offense, but also the mind games that you are playing. And so, because you have to remember, when it comes to fighting games in general, it's a mental battle as much as it is sitting there just playing and inputting everything on the damn controller. You also have to realize that the mental game is there as well. And 50-50s are mind games, and they're at their absolute strongest when your opponent is flustered, and they're trying to figure out what to do. They're trying to figure out, they're trying to make the correct guess. They're trying to get the pressure off of them. Like, all these things are running through the person's head who is dealing with the 50-50. And to sum it up, it's multiple choice for the opponent, because you have so many options to do, like I said, depending on the character. But even then, even if your character, quote unquote, doesn't have the greatest 50-50s, but has, if you can put the opponent in a situation where they're forced to guess, you can still make things work. Because the 50-50s effectiveness, like I said, is applying the mind game properly and making and forcing the hand, forcing them to guess. And that's 50-50s in a nutshell. Now, this next topic, most don't fully understand it, most don't grasp it, and I have to say this is probably the least understood out of all of it when it comes to offense, and that's offensive spacing. Most people, when I ask them that, they don't even fully understand the term. Most people, when they think of spacing, they think of it from a defensive aspect. And yes, while it does exist in defense, it also exists in offense as well. And you're probably like, well, what is offensive spacing? Well, offensive spacing is, of course, taking control of the space, but in advancement, meaning you're taking your opponent's space away from them. And you even per se apply pressure through movement or moving forward. So this can sometimes even be more effective than some of the aforementioned stuff, because when you're very good at offensive spacing, Megas, what's up, brother? Said Casanova, you said this is what you need to learn. Well, you came to the right place. So, with offensive spacing, when you're good at this, you can make somebody make a mistake, even when moving forward. Like, to me, this is a very important thing to realize when you're playing offense, because when you're playing offense, especially if you're trying to really force even the frame traps and 50-50s to work, let's say, 2D games, for instance, are just back and forth horizontal movement. So when you're strong in offensive spacing in 2D games, you have a greater chance of being able to apply frame traps and 50-50s, because you're pushing them to the corner. You're even using your basic attacks to further help make this effective. Like, one thing that I do in Tekken with Lars that a lot of people y'all may see me do the dynamic entry canceling, which is similar to how Mashima's wave dash, this, that, and the third. So you may see me go forward and get in the opponent's face, and then I may oppose my will through using my basic attacks. Like you may see me do a lot of jabs, you may see me do a lot of down 4-1s, you may see me do down back 2-1, and I'm moving in and out like I'm switching gears. It's kind of like Muhammad Ali with the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee thing, where he could be defensive and make you whiff and then instantly switch gears and move on the offense and use his jabs to apply pressure and get in there and then make you even make mistakes while he's coming toward you. Like, that's pretty much that, if I had to relate that to the sports side of things, because that's, or in other words, they called it the rope-a-dope, the term for that. So offensive spacing is pretty much that. You can use the 3 aforementioned things that I mentioned already to help make that even scarier. You could use your strings and special moves, like in Street Fighter. Let's say you're walking forward and you put yourself at that sweet spot to throw that Hadouken to make them either walk back or force them to jump. And then if they jump, then you could DP. Get the knockdown and you further move forward. This is, like I said, the least understood aspect of offense, and it's actually, to me, in my personal opinion, one of the most important aspects of offense if you want your offense to be truly effective. Then we can carry over into the next one, which is mix-ups. Now you're like, well, aren't mix-ups and 50-50s generally the same thing? Yes and no. 50-50s, yes, they put you in a guessing situation, and even mix-ups, you try to make a hard guess too. But mix-ups can do things like force baits, force the opponent's hand, or you could use it just to get somebody to move back. Like, mix-ups can be very vast. And this is also another thing that people don't always fully understand. Because most people think mix-ups are just, it has to be a built-in feature where I get the opponent to either do this or that. I'm like, well, you're somewhat describing what a 50-50 is. Mix-ups, I like to call them opportunity creators, because that's what they do. Like, especially if I want you to press a button, I could use a mix-up to get you to do it. Like, for instance, do we have any, I'm not sure if we have any Law or Shaheen or Lee players in here, but you use the full crouch dash mix-ups. You use that, like I said, like a 50-50, you can get somebody to try to make a guess, but this is more so you're not exactly fully doing anything yet. You're trying to get a bait or something like that. Or even when I'm playing Lars and I'm doing DE, I'm trying to get you to react to the DE. Now, what I do after that is solely dependent on me. I may do down 4-1 again. I may do down 4-1 one more time. And then I may do down back 2. It's applying, and what I'm doing there when I do that, I'm applying my basic attacks to mix you up. I'm using a sequence of moves to quote unquote condition you. And that's one thing mix-ups are very good for doing. They can help condition the opponent. And when you can condition the opponent, well then all the things we mentioned already are that much more scarier. See, offense is very vast. So you have to be able to apply all these things together in order to have a solid offense. And these are things I even had to further learn for myself, because I'm I was generally, especially as early as 2 to 3 years ago, I was solely a defensive player. And while even though I was pretty solid in that department, playing offense was just not the best thing for me. And I like to think now, some years later, I now understand offense even better now, and how to apply all these principles that exist when it comes to offense. But mix-ups are opportunity creators, whereas 50-50s are the actual guessing part. So yes, they intertwine. Like I said, all of this intertwines together. You have to use all this together in order to truly be effective with your offense. To me, you have players that specialize in these things mentioned. Like, you have some players that are good at using frame traps. You have some players that are great at using 50-50s. You have some players that are good at mix-ups. You even have momentum or momentous players. Yo, Jerry, what's up? What's going on? But and I'm gonna get into momentum next. But mix-ups, like I said, they're opportunity creators, and you can use the aforementioned things with that in order to make it fully work. So like I said, in Tekken with Law, if you get the full crouch mix-ups, you can input the crouch dash, and then you can do various options from it. With Mishimas, if you know the wave dash, you can do that and do various options from it. Like I said, with Lars, you could do the dynamic entry cancel, or even the silent entry. You could mix that in, especially since now both stances have 4 moves per stance. So now you legit have, Lars has a little more mix-up opportunity now. It's not amazing, but again, if you're good at the first 4 things that I mentioned, you can make it scary to deal with. Because offense is solely dependent on you. Jerry, this is the podcast that I do. This is Train of Thought. Today's episode is about offense and fighting games, which is why the episode is titled "I Take Offense to That." But so yeah, mix-ups help you create opportunity. And the more you understand how to apply them during offense, the scarier you're going to be to deal with once you go on the offensive. And then, of course, the last thing I put on the list was momentum. I won't say it's not really important, because, again, it is. But I put it last because momentum can swing either way. You can have momentum on offense, and you can have momentum even on defense. And you're like, wow, really? Well, momentum is pretty much you seizing control, and all the stuff I mentioned already before is like working. Like this is the culmination. Momentum is kind of somewhat the culmination of everything already mentioned, but it's just pretty much just working. And like I said, this can apply on defense too, because if you're, and the way it would apply on defense is if you're making your opponent make a million mistakes, you're consistently punishing this, that, and the third, But we'll further talk about that when we get to the next episode of Train of Thought. But anyway, back to this. So momentum is pretty much season control, season the day. This is your carpe diem, or carpe diem, or however you pronounce it. Seizing the day. So you're using everything that you've learned. You're using your basic attacks. You're using your strings and special moves, your frame traps, 50-50s, your offensive spacing, and your mix-ups. All of it is coming together. It's like this is the Picasso moment. Like we're painting the perfect picture here, and the whole picture is coming together, and we getting it going. And you're the pedal to the floor at this point. And momentum can be scary to deal with on offense, because it seems like when you fighting somebody that got the momentum, it seems like no matter what they try, it's going to work. Like the momentum is just that strong in their favor. And it's always great to get this on your side, because when you get the momentum, that's the moment when you smell the blood in the water. Like you like, oh, okay, they're nervous now. I pretty much can approach this however I want to approach this right now, because 9 times out of 10 or 10 out of 10 is going to work. So, but understanding how to effectively take control of it and hold on to it, because there's a such thing as losing it too. And then when you lose momentum, of course, that sucks, because now it's kind of like you have to reset and start over again. Like, think of offense and fighting games as, well, it's an entire sequence. And, you know, once you lose that momentum, you like, damn it. Now I got to play me some defense and then go back to the first thing we mentioned, the basic attacks. I'm like, okay, well, how do I get this all started again? You know, I gotta, you know, we've been put to a halt. You know, we lost the momentum. Our tire got flattened. So, you know, now I gotta go put the spare on, put some more gas in it, and then continue. So, when that momentum drops, okay, now back to the basics. Okay, all right, okay, I need to warm up my jab. It's like in boxing, when you see two boxers clinch, or case in point in fighting games, when y'all reset and go back to the neutral, that's when everything begins again. Now, that's one thing I meant to put on here, but neutral is so vast. Like, neutral applies to both spectrums. It applies to offense and defense, which is probably why I didn't include that on here, because I'm probably going to do an entire episode on neutral. When, I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to do an entire episode on it, because if it's one thing I see that a lot of players don't understand, is neutral. So, but I'll briefly talk on in the offense. And offense, when it comes to neutral, because neutral is pretty much the calm before the storm. It's before anything happens. Neutral is knowing how to use your tools effectively to help you take control. Like, case in point, I can go back to Lars. Like, let's say we're moving, playing the spacing in the neutral game, and I'm trying to get in there to start to open my opponent up. So I may start using the jabs and the down 4-1s and the down back 2s and down back 2-1 and stuff like that. So knowing your best buttons, your best tools to use while playing that game is going to help you take control of the neutral game. And once you can do that, then all this other stuff that mentioned in application can come into effect. Well, I took control of the neutral, so now I can further impose my will. So you're like, okay, well, let's go down the checklist. So my basic attacks, I figured out what I'm gonna do with that. Okay, now that I know this, now I may do, because here's the thing when it comes to strings. Since strings are a sequence of buttons strung together, you do not have to do the entire thing. So typically in strings, your advantage can switch or differ depending on how much of the string you do. So you may have a string that let's say you do up to the second attack and you're -3, but if you finish it, you're like -14. So this goes back to intertwining strings and frame traps together. So let's say, you know, part of the string, I do 2 hits, but the second hit, I'm a bit safer than finishing that last hit, and also the second hit could possibly put you, like, let's say in a full crouch situation, but I'm -3 or even 0. Now zero is like right there in the middle. Like, when a car is parked or a car is put into the end function, I should say, yeah, we'll just say that, put into the end function, is neutral. So 0, it can pretty much go either way. It could either sway your way or sway the opponent's way, but it depends on what you decide to respond with. So let's say perfect example for me is Lars has down 2, which is a downward elbow that force crouches you and is 0 on block. But since you're in force crouch, I'm already limiting what you can do, because now you have to do while standing moves or full crouch moves. So in that moment, I don't have to worry about you doing anything standing because you're in full crouch. So I'm like, he's either going to do a down 1 or he's going to do a while standing move that might not be the safest option to do, or so you pretty much are limiting through offense. You're toning down your opponent's options, and like I say, you're quote unquote imposing your will, and you're limiting what they can do. So with knowing that, your follow-up should put you in a situation where you can come out on top. Meaning simply, okay, so I got this in 0, so I need to do, my follow-up needs to be either a crush move or a very quick move that could open up a counter hit opportunity, something like that, because imposing your will is taking full advantage. And when it comes to an effective offense, it's pretty much doing just that. It's imposing your will. How you do it, like I said, differs, because like I said, you have players that are very good at frame traps that can frame trap you to death. You have players that are very good at doing 50-50s and implementing them, and mix-ups, or even just using spacing to cause you to make mistakes, taking control of the momentum. Like, you have players that can specialize in these aspects of offense, and then, or you can have the players that are good at everything. Now that's a really strong offense, because it's like, oh man, this dude, he knows how to do his basic attacks. He uses his special moves and strings pretty well. His frame traps and 50-50s are crazy. His offensive spacing is scary. Mix-ups on point, and man, when he gets the momentum, he's like a speeding train, and I can't slow him down, or I can't slow her down. Either or. But it can be a scary offense, is absolutely mind-boggling to deal with. That's why, of course, we all know a truly effective player is good at both. You're good at offense and defense. But since we're talking about offense, being able to implement all these things effectively and have the proper application will lead to you getting W's more than likely. Because if you're fighting an opponent, also the other determining factor of how effective your offense can be is how effective the opponent's defense is. And this is when remember I mentioned momentum, and if you got like crazy momentum right now, and let's say your opponent's defense sucks, like I said, you pretty much are gonna do whatever, you're gonna be able to do whatever the hell you want to do, and it's gonna work. So not only does the application determine, but like I said, how good is your opponent's defense. And that's why it's always good when you're playing somebody to test their defense. And this goes back to the first thing we mentioned, the basic attacks. Let's test, because Reed earlier mentioned, how do you open your opponent up? Well, this is part of it. We'll go to using your basic attacks. So your basic attacks can help you open that door. Like I mentioned with Lars, I do a lot of down 4-1s, and the reason why I use that is because it's a 13 frame startup move. It has pretty decent crush frames on it. It's only -1, and it has very good range. Now, how am I using that to open my opponent up? Well, for starters, like I mentioned, the range of it, I can stand at about 1.5 to nearly range 2. And if I can force you to block it, my odds of you wanting to make a mistake and press a button is higher. Or if I want to get you to further walk back and allow me to take space, that's higher. And like I said, it would eventually lead to you getting opened up. Because the opening up is pretty much making you press a button, making you duck, making you bite, all of that. Because you have things like baits. And baits are pretty much, they fall into the frame trap category, because in order to bait somebody, it's pretty much to get them to press something. And this then will open the door to your counter hits and your whiff punishment, stuff like that. So with applying your basic attacks properly, that gives me my opportunity, because basic attacks can be mix-ups, because y'all ever heard of the term no mix-up, which is pretty much just doing the same thing over and over until your opponent responds differently? Well, that's what that is. That's why that term exists, the no mix-up. They're like, oh, he's not gonna do it again. Oh, he's not gonna do it again. And this works either on hit or on block. Like, okay, he didn't hit me with it 2 times, he's not gonna do it a 3rd time. Oh my God, he did it a 3rd time. Or, okay, I done blocked this 3 times. He's not gonna do it no more because I'm playing defense, I'm blocking it, and I'm not getting hit by it. Oh my God, he did it again. And then this time they netted the counter hit. So basic attacks are more important than you think when it comes to an effective offense. To me, they're vital, because again, without the basics, it's kind of hard to hold together and navigate. It's even we could go back to episode 2, the evolution of a player. I stress getting the basics down, because aka your fundamentals, because when a player has no fundamentals, it shows itself very fast. Oh, excuse me. It shows itself quick. It doesn't take long to notice that. And when you're going against an opponent that notices your fundamentals aren't that strong, oh, they're going to start applying some pressure in. And that pressure could come in either offense or defense. But on the offensive side of things, okay, well, I know your fundamentals aren't that great, like your spacing isn't that good, this isn't there, so guess what? I'm going to now just start being disrespectful with certain special moves and certain strings and certain instances that will and this is why it's always important to fine tune this. That's why when I'm talking to new players, like I tell them learn. They say what's important to learn first. That's like the key question of new players. What should I learn first? What should I learn first? What should I learn first? And I always, tell them nowadays is, learn your basic attacks, meaning how they work, how fast do they start up, what's the effective range to use them at, are they plus on block, are they negative on block, do they have pushback, do they leave my opponent in crouch? Like, you have to learn all of these things, because when you learn all of that, when you learn all of the nooks and crannies of your basic attacks, they will help you do everything else. It's like a car. If you don't have an engine, that car is not doing anything. It's not going to start up. It's not going to go. It's not... With no engine, you're not going anywhere. Think of your basic attacks as your engine. And without it, you're not going to go anywhere. So always, because you even have some players who have quote unquote been playing for a little while and they still don't fully properly apply this to help make their offense stronger. And because I'm gonna tell you where most players fall in line at. The majority of players, when it comes to offense, they fall into the strings and special category, and even somewhat the 50-50 and frame trap category. Now, again, I said all of these things intertwine together. So the more effective your offense is, the more better you have that link with these things. How well do you have them intertwined? That's how well your offense is, as far as the application of it, you inputting everything and all that. So most, they learn the strings and specials, and they learn the traps and the 50-50s and whatnot. Another thing I could have put into this is Okazemi. This is when you get knocked down, or you knock the player down, and then your options then. But again, you force them to guess. So it's a form of 50-50 in a sense, as far as you being on offense and knocking your opponent down. Because Okazemi is on both spectrums, which is kind of also why I didn't necessarily just slap it up there as a category, because even on defense, Oki is a thing. Because on the defensive side, it's, how you get up, how you approach, possibly being put into the 50-50, etc., etc. So, but on offensive application, it's pretty much applying a 50-50 or even a frame trap when you knock somebody down. Because even me in Tekken, when I knock somebody down with Lars, I may DE toward them while they're falling, or if they're knocked down on the ground, and then I may go for example, a dynamic entry 2, which is a mid attack that if you get up wrong or press an attack button while getting up, he gets a counter hit and can relaunch you again. And that's me being on offense, because like I said, I'm moving forward. I'm applying my offensive spacing. I'm moving forward. I'm using, and with that, I'm using my stance, which is the mix-up part of it, because you don't know exactly what I'm going to do. And then I just made a choice using the button, and you pretty much probably tried to guess or panic. So you did a wake-up kick. You may have tried to do spring kick. You may have tried to do, you tried to do something, and then you got counter hit. So even with that sequence that I just explained, I just did a host of most of what I just mentioned in the application part. Yo, Flying Impact, thanks for the subscription. Subscribe, boys. You're not one of the conductors. One of the conductors. Yeah. But back to what I was saying, though. So I just used a host of things that was mentioned on this list. I'm offensive spacing. You know, I'm in the bag as far as my special move or whatever. You know, I'm using my stance. And like I said, the 50-50 opportunity is there. Meaning you're gonna have to legitimately guess, then mix up. You don't know what I'm going to do. And then I have the momentum. So that right there has allowed, I'm using at least 4 or 5 of the things I just mentioned right there in that one sequence. So again, there will be different ways or different opportunities and different, but if I had to perfectly describe this, I would say that it's more so how well you build the sequence. And you can apply these things, you can mix these things up. A super effective offense is how well you switch up your application. Because the predictable, we all know when you fight somebody on offense that's predictable, that means their application, you pretty much got a gist of it. You know their rhythm, you know what they're gonna do, and that's very bad to do, especially against when you're fighting a player that's strong in defense. You know, they're gonna make you pay for it. So switching up your application and how you apply it is a very effective way of going about offense as well. Like, case in point, we got this list. Say we got this list right here, and you may switch up how you use it. You may start off, I'm not gonna do a basic attack in this sequence. Now I may, start off with trying to go for a frame trap. And then after that, I may use the basic attack after that. And then after that, I may apply my offensive spacing. Then after that, I may try to mix them up. Or who knows, I may start off with a string. And then after that, I may try to do a mix. Like, keeping the opponent on their toes is a very scary offense to deal with. And then, of course, with you doing that, that makes you unpredictable. And when you're unpredictable, let me tell you, that's the scariest player to fight. Because with being unpredictable, you don't know what's going to come next. Now, combating against unpredictable, like I said, I'm probably going to go into vaster detail when I do the defense episode. But the way to combat that is, it's the greatest advice that I was taught when it comes to fighting games. But since my teacher, main Tekken, and that's Adonis the God. That was my teacher. That's who primarily taught me. He said the greatest advice I can give you when it comes to Tekken is, if you know the matchup, space them. If you don't know the matchup, space. And you can apply that to offense or defense. So let's say, you're on offense and you're fighting a matchup that you're pretty confident in. You like, okay, well, that's spacing advice. Well, I know what I can do on offense, and I know how effective the matchup that I'm dealing with, where their moves become most effective. So I can then use my offense in this way to nullify your tools and make my offense work and be effective. Like I said, this is very vast and complicated. Once you start to crack open the layers to this, it becomes very fast, and that's what makes fighting games so intriguing, so great, so fun. And most people on the outside looking in don't fully look at it at this level as people who are actual fighting game players, and they don't know how vast and how intricate this really can be. I mean, look at it. We doing a whole episode on just offense alone, and then I'm gonna do an episode on strictly just defense alone, and then I'm gonna do an episode just speaking on solely just neutral. So that lets you know how vast this fighting game thing is. But great offense, again, is a culmination of using all of these things and changing up application. If I had to dumb it down and sum it up completely, is differing your application. I use that, differing your application. And when you become skilled and talented at doing that, you have a very scary offense. And especially, like, let's say you go to tournaments and people know you're scary on offense. They're already stressing out because they like, oh man, I gotta fight such and such. Yo, Rokaru, thanks, appreciate it. But they already are stressing out. They like, oh my god, I gotta fight such and such. So they know. Said, oh, my character's offensive options aren't good. Now, you know, of course, I be hearing a lot of people say, well, my character's tools aren't that great. This, that, and the third. Truly great players can make something out of nothing. And I've, even, considering quote unquote how bad Lars is in Tekken 7, I still make him effective. And that's just simply because I, of course, understand the character, but I know how to take my tools and, again, make something out of nothing. And to me, in order to even consider yourself a strong player, you have to be able to make even the smallest opportunities into something big. That's what separates the greats from the, low-level casual, because a low-level and casual may see, what's a good example to use? Like in Tekken, when let's say you do a grab and the opponent breaks the grab. Now a low-level player is probably gonna think, man, he broke my grab, so now I can't grab him. So now they stop grabbing because they're already intimidated and shook that, oh, the grab has been broken, so it's not really effective for my offense. So now you've just eliminated a part of your offense that the opponent does not have to worry about, because you're afraid, like, oh, they're breaking my grabs. They're completely useless because the grab itself is not working. Whereas a great player or a higher level thinking player, they see the grab is broken, but now they looking at it, okay, the neutral has been reset. Now I can go into my toolkit and use this, and this to create this opportunity to further keep my offense going. And that's the difference in between level of players, because you have to realize offense is very vast. You can't just look at it as, I'm going to smack buttons and hope something happens. You can't look at offense as just strictly like that. You have to really think about it in a deep spectrum, because you see all these things I got on this list of application. So that lets you know that with all these things listed on here, well, there's a lot to this. And in order for me to be effective with it, I need to figure out and understand all of these things and weave them together so that I can have a better offense. And in order to get stronger on offense, you need, of course, you naturally need to practice these things. But like I said, you have to understand application too. Because it's like I mentioned in the Evolution of a Player episode, a lot of players will go on YouTube or whatnot and watch their favorite players and try to mimic or emulate what they're doing, and they don't fully understand why. And the key to being able to, quote unquote, take what they're doing and do it is understanding the application. If you don't understand why they're doing it, you setting yourself up for failure. And then when you get into your match and you try to do what they did on offense and you're wondering why it's not working, is because you didn't understand the application. I mean, it makes sense, don't it? It makes perfect, clear sense, doesn't it? So your job as a player then is to figure out, well, how do I make this work? Like, okay, so they did this because of this, or they may have went for this because they put them at this range, and when you're at that range, then this move will work. Like I said, offense is like weaving together a perfect puzzle or painting that picture. Like I said, you got to be Picasso with this. So you want that ending image to be full, you want it to be vibrant, you want it to look good, you want it to work. And in order to do that, you have to have understanding. So if I had to, the beginning, middle, and end of offense, the beginning would be, brainstorming. And then the middle part would be culmination, which is bringing it all together, and then application and applying it. So is it law lit Tekken? Is that what it is? And do you think Lars would be buffed? I can't definitely say that. I would like it. It'd be cool just to see what they would do. Because I don't think he needs to be overly buffed, because if he is, he's going to turn back into his old self for real. And people are already crying about Leroy and stuff like that. I really wouldn't care to see, him being cried about again. And then all these fake ass Lars players are gonna try to pick him up. And then when I'm in rank, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna see him. And I'm gonna be like, get the hell off my character. But anyway, just had to have a little fun with that. Yeah, Leroy is definitely still top tier, free. He's just not God tier no more. Now he's the top tier. But yeah, again, offense, like I said, brainstorming, culmination, application. Those would be like the three keys, I would say. Because brainstorming is thinking of everything. Culmination is kind of like weaving it all together. And then application is, okay, everything that I took now, let's push it and apply it in battle. And in order to, like I said, be effective with it, you have to fully understand it. That's why I say learn your basics, learn your basic attacks, learn how they work, learn your strings, how do you do that, learn the frame traps that you can do, your 50-50s, learn how to control spacing offensively, your mix-ups, and then like I said, that momentum, when you gain control of it or try to gain control of it, like you all of this has to come together. All of it has to come together. That's the only way you're going to have a strong, good, effective offense. And like I said, you need offense to put points on the board. In sports, yeah, defense is important. Like I said, that's another episode, neither here or there. But, offense is what puts the butts in seats at big sports events. That's, people love seeing, basketball, that crazy crossover, or somebody getting dunked on, or in boxing, we love seeing the big haymakers and the jabs and all that type of stuff. Like, we love seeing stuff like that. So offense is what that is. But now the crazy part about it though, but to be a truly good player, you need to be good at both. And that's where the plot thickens. But again, we just speaking on offense. If you want to hear about, the evolution of a player, go to that episode 2 of the podcast, where I speak on that. And I the more I play and the more I learn, I've been and understanding offense better. It's helping me become a stronger player. Cause like I said, my archetype used to generally be just a defensive player. Now I'm leaning more toward I'm a balanced player, meaning I could turn the gears up on either side now. And I'm actually glad, because like I said, that overall makes me better in general. And I'm still, of course, further improving. But, compared to my past self, now that I have a better understanding of offense, like I said, it helped me in the long run.
I'm going.
And
good night.
I wish we, well.
Most players,
Are you going to...
like I said, primarily, I always say primarily the new players, because naturally, you're new. This is your first, like, for a lot of players, they just entered the fighting game realm now. This current generation, they just started. Whereas then you have us, the older guys who've been playing fighting games for over a decade, 2 decades, stuff like that. We're familiar with it. So, and that's why, experience, it's a very real thing. That's why some newer players be wondering, well, they see an older player, a veteran or whatever, and they like, yo, how did you learn that so fast, yada, 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 yada. Well, again, I understand how things work. And they be amazed, like, dang, you figured that out on offense pretty fast. Well, yeah, I understand offense. I understand how to apply my basic attacks. I understand how to apply my strings and special moves, my frame traps and 50-50s, my offensive space and the mix-ups and momentum. I understand all of that. So now it's just finding the character and becoming one with that character, basically. And then once you do that, yeah, it ain't no telling what you could do with said character. Now you just apply your knowledge and experience. This is where your fundamentals and all that come into play overall as a player. And, with that being said, I do hope that after this episode, a lot of y'all have a better understanding of offense and how to go about applying it in battle. And and with applying it in battle, understanding it further, because most people, like I said, think offense is just smacking buttons, and it's really so much more than that. It's way more vast than that, and it's up to you to sit down and push to further understand it. Because like I said, if you truly want to get better at anything in life, you're going to put the time in to better understand it. Because with better understanding becomes knowledge gained, and when knowledge is gained, then going after said thing or achieving said thing is that much easier. So if I truly want a better offense, I'm going to grasp the understanding of it, and then with the understanding of it, I now have the knowledge, and now that I have the knowledge, then I can now fully apply it, therefore being more effective on offense and bettering my chances of winning the damn match. Like, it's as simple as that. Shit, I want to win a little more. So And with that definitely can help you. It can help. For sure. I'm not going to say it's going to guarantee you the wins, but it for damn sure can increase your odds of winning. Because we all know in anything competitive, either side could win. We don't know who can win. It's about who executes their game plan better. So you think they're going to buff the big homie Bob? I'm not sure. As far as the patch goes, I do not know what they're going to do to characters. It's hard to say if they even do much. But if they do, touch the cast across the board, it's going to be interesting to say the least, because this is going to pan out the remaining path of how season 3 is going to, go. And then with a new character in the mix in Fahkumram, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits into the game, how he fits into the cast. From what we saw, it looks like he fits right in. I'm definitely looking forward to trying him. I will be doing a stream with him that day, like most people are. But I'm probably going to be, again, trying to, as I mentioned to you, in the offensive side, Well, slide still works, because it was a slide. Slides, to be exact. But understanding how his tools work and stuff like that. Because that's when I approach a character, that's the first thing that I look at. But no, I'm gonna go ahead and open up the floor for any questions and experience people may want to share, because this episode wasn't gonna be super long today, and I also have a tournament I'm playing in at 1 p.m. so I'm gonna want to get prepared for that a little bit. But I hope there was a little more understanding as far as when it comes to offense. And like I said, this is the part where if you do have further questions to help you further understand, this is when you ask.
I was going to call you before.
Or if you want to share your own personal experience or whatever, because again, this is a stream where
People will think whatever they want to think, regardless of what you do.
No, it's an online. There's no offline stuff really going on for real, thanks to Corona.
I don't know.
But no, this is an online Tekken tourney that the homie Grand Kai Gaming is throwing. It's called the Ultimate Warrior event. It starts at 1. It's on PS4, so registration for it closed, unfortunately. But the tournament is starting at 1 p.m. And if you guys want to tune into that tournament, I'm going to be hosting it on my channel, but just so y'all could know who, it is, that's the link right there. And that's where it'll be taking place. Okay, Magus. Okay. Question. Last time we fought, I explained how I get caught in a loop during longer sets. Any tips on how to break myself from getting stuck in loops? Ooh, that's a good question. So basically autopiloting. That's in terms. When you get caught in a loop of doing something, that's autopiloting. You pretty much not really thinking, and you're just, and a lot of times that could be because something has worked for you a lot, but you also have to be able, in them instances, you have to just remember all your tools and switch up your application. Switch up your application to offense a little differently. Like, sure, we all have our go-to moves and the basic things that we do. Yeah, everybody has that. But, in order for it to be most effective, You have to mix up the application of it. Like how you like to do your down 4 ones. Instead of doing them back to back, maybe do one and then bag up, or do one and then sidestep, or do one and then maybe even slightly walk forward. Switch up how you do it. You know, with switching up, being, like I said, being unpredictable makes offense even scarier. Yo, Wami, what's up, bro? Said this is a really good breakdown. Like I said, I try to be pretty thorough with these things because, and try to help you understand. Because like I said, the key to understanding leads to knowledge. You know, once knowledge gained, then application. And you can apply that to life. You know, I'm curious about something, I need to learn about it. And once I learn about it, I've gained the knowledge. And then now that I gained the knowledge, I can do what I need to do to achieve success. Yeah, no problem, Vegas. But yeah, just be sure to mix up how you do things, because being unpredictable is absolutely scary on offense. Because when you're unpredictable, you're harder to read. And when you're harder to read, the odds of something working is that much higher. And an effective offense, of course, is the other key to it is how much higher of a chance you can make things work. And when you can increase your chances of making mix-up work, or frame trap work, or mix-up work, or your basic attacks, when you can make all them things like increase the odds, you know, then you can go from there. Are you talking about the tournament page, Gamer Griff? Is that what you're talking about? Because that was the link that I posted. The tournament I'll be playing in after the podcast is over with. The tourney starts at 1 p.m. On Grand Kai Gaming. Have you ever had issues with keeping focus? Only time I had an issue is when I have some like really crucial stuff going on online, in real life. I was about to say offline. I had to say that, but real life. So if I'm stressed out about something or something like that, that's the only time where my focus may possibly wane. But even in them times, like say you're in tournament or you're in a set or whatever and you lose, that's why it's best to take that time to go back to the character select screen and breathe and reassess and recalm yourself. Because it's hard to try to play when your mind is flustered. When your mind is flustered, you play terrible. And also, whatever the opponent does has a better chance of working because your mind is clouded. When you can't see clearly. When you can't see, what happens when you can't see clearly? Like if you're driving outside and it's incredibly foggy outside, the odds of you getting into an accident, if you're not, driving the way you need to, is high. You're going to crash into possibly somebody else or a tree or whatever. Think of it like that. I know when I'm in tournament and I take that first L, I usually try to pause for a second, think about what just happened, what can I do differently, and then play. It's not even necessarily worrying about winning and tying up the set, because then again, when you do that, you're adding stress to yourself. You're trying to calm yourself down, not stress yourself out. Because people stress themselves out and like, oh my God, I'm down a game, I need to win this game, as opposed to, okay, I lost that game, what did I do wrong? How can I stop what they're doing from being effective? And this, that, and the third. You see how different them scenarios sound? One sounds like they stressing themselves out. The other one sounds like they're assessing the problem so they can reach the solution. And of course, you want to be on the side that, you know, that has less stress and actually leads to reaching the solution point. Because the playing stressed out is terrible, or playing tired, playing in any state where your mind is not in it, or your heart even isn't in it. You get some of the worst play that you could produce in those situations. Oh yeah, no problem, Vegas. But yeah, you get some of the worst play. And then, you know, to go back, and then when you go back and watch the matches, it's like you knew why you lost, but then when you go back and watch those, you're like utterly disgusted and just horrified with like, oh my God, I did that. Ugh. Or like, da-da-da-da. So it's always bad when that happens. But yeah, if anybody else has any more questions pertaining to offense, the floor is definitely open for y'all. For sure. Like I said, I like answering these questions, and I like hearing about even personal match experiences. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the podcast because, again, it allows me to interact with you guys and further see what your minds are like as far as the topics that we discuss. Bliss, what's going on? What's happening? But yeah, interacting with your peers is important. That's a good question, Vegas. Do you have multiple offensive styles to fall back on, or do you just adjust on the fly if necessary? That's a great question. For me personally, it's a mix of both. Because you ever heard of the term flow chart or flow charts? You ever heard of that term? Gamer Griff, I got your question next. But yeah, you ever heard the term flow charts? So basically, flow charts are usually sequences of moves that you put together to achieve a said result. And flow charts, people try to say flow charting is bad. Not necessarily. Flow charting is only bad if you continue to do it and it doesn't work, which is of course where the adaptation or adjusting on the fly comes in. To me, honestly, you have to do a bit of both. Like especially if you're a tournament player and you're in the pool section of the tournament, which is the very beginning, flow charts, that's when you really want to test it. And you test it to see if it works, and if it works, that's good. The homie Mike ATL from Atlanta did a very good YouTube video on flowcharting. And actually, you know what? I could see if I could find that real quick. Let's swap to the internet view. Okay. Let me see here. YouTuber. Let me see if I could find that video. I'm probably not gonna really watch it, but I just want you guys to be able to see it. And if you wanna go to it and watch it for yourself, you can. Yeah, there it is. Let's flowchart. So this was a pretty good video. Like I said, he explains how flowcharting can be effective, how you can apply and use it in tournament, this, that, and the third. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat box as well, so you guys can go to it. Said, what's the song? This song that's currently playing, Flying Impact. Hold on. I'll just pop it up for you. But it's called Give Me Something. And that's the name of the artist. Joey Pecoraro, I believe that's how you say it. But it's called Give Me Something off the Music for Happiness album. I love this guy. Has a lot of, actually, y'all know that the intro for the stream is his song. It's off his other project called Tired Boy, which is this project, and it's the title track, which is this song. Yeah, but this is pretty much the intro for the stream. So yeah, but he's definitely dope. I recommend checking him out if you have not. I'm actually going to replay the Give Me Some track again though, because that's actually one of my favorite tracks on here. But anyway, but yeah, this is a real good episode on flow charting, and I recommend you watch that if you want to get a firmer understanding on flow charts. But to further speak on that, but having multiple forms of that is pretty much flow charting, and you have to know when to use them and apply them. And then if you have to adjust, then adjust. Meaning if you got to do something differently, like, okay, say right here I may need to do this move a little more or a little less, then do that. Adjust when necessary, because that's what, like I said, that's what separates great players from the low-level players. Yo, Daylo, what's up, bro? But I hope that helped answer that. Gamer Griff. So you said sidestepping. Sidestepping is also another important thing to know when to use it. A lot of players mess up using sidestepping. They either excessively do it for no reason in the neutral, and to be honest, that just opens you up for free damage. Especially like in, sidestepping is more so a 3D game thing, since it's a third dimensional plane of movement. That just opens you up to maybe moves that can hit you while you're stepping to the side. And Daylo, the topic is offense and fighting games, which is why the name of the episode is called I Take Offense to That. It's just, playing off that very statement. But it's about offense and fighting games. But Griff is pretty much, it's the same application. When it comes to fighting games, application is like the biggest thing, because it's how you do things during battle. And the better the application, the higher your chances of achieving said result is. So if I know how to apply sidestepping when I need to, I'm going to be great at doing it. And the best times to sidestep is you primarily have to make reads to really be effective, or knowing the character's said weaker side and taking full advantage of that. But to properly apply sidestepping, it takes some reads and having knowledge of the character's weak side per se. And when you can do that, or understanding the range of said move or how well it tracks, and knowing how to take full advantage. And that's the deal when it comes to sidestepping. Getting the most out of it, is properly applying it. That's to get the most out of it. I hope that helped answer things for you. I hope so. But I know IRL has been a little crazy for me, as y'all know, because of the coronavirus. So work, I've been doing like mandatory overtime all week. So I was really tired. I would have did the episode at the normal time, which is 10 a.m. But I was tired, and I woke up later than what I wanted to. And then I ended up waking up. I ended up talking to my lady because she had a little bug yesterday, so she wasn't feeling too hot. So I didn't end up spending time with her. And so we ended up just FaceTiming for like a good hour or so. And I'll probably see her later because she's feeling a lot better. Like I said, I think it just was a day bug. She said she feels a lot better today. No, it wasn't no symptoms like that. I think she ate something bad. It was more so like just the stomach being irritated. No, it wasn't none of the corona symptoms. That would sucked. But yeah, my job, because since my job is in the health side of things, yeah, it's still open. So even though I don't think we should be, because the entire building or campus that we work in has been shut down. So there's really not nobody in there for real, not heavily, except some of the people that do need to be in there. Like the building engineers are still in there because they have to keep the building running and operating, even though it's not open. Sucks, but yeah. So I had been wanting to do this episode even before now, and I even would have liked it to have been a little longer, you know, but it's a little shortened because I got to play in this tourney. But you know, it's not necessarily the quantity, but the quality. Quality is what matters. And this episode is roughly almost 2 hours still. So yeah, I'm still glad to be able to generate that. And then, you know, with the Twitch stream and whatnot, and getting the payout from that, and people subscribing, like I said, that's one way y'all do help, is subscribing and even donating. I do have the donation link too as well, you know, and all I do really is with those that y'all give me, I usually apply it toward the prizes and all that. Like I know I had to train the Combo Breaker tournament last month, and I did payouts for that and gave out gift subscriptions for that, and the winner of that was pretty much having a Combo Breaker registration covered. But unfortunately, with what's going on with coronavirus, that might not even be a thing. So if Rick does, and that's who runs Combo Breaker, if Rick does, Wami, I'm actually going to put the channel of where the matches will be primarily at. Matter of fact, let me do that one more time. But yeah, that's the channel that the tournament will be on. So if you want to see me in action playing, you be sure to hit that up after I close this podcast out. But like I said again, but as far as, you know, the stream itself, like I said, you guys show a lot of love and support anyway. But as far as but you know, I always give you guys the info in case you want to, you know, further show love and further support. If you go on my main page, or even if you go on the mobile side and click view info on my name, you know, on the info part of the tab are all my tabs, my Instagram, if you want to follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and of course my Twitter, and also the donation link. And you can get there. I prefer you go there because that's linked to my PayPal, as opposed to something like a GoFundMe where they take a percentage of the cut off the top. Whereas through my Streamlabs, I get pretty much what you give me. So I definitely always prefer that if you want to personally help support. Like I said, it's all appreciated. It pretty much is giving back to you guys. So whether it's through giveaways or through the tournaments that I'll be doing, and all that. Yeah, coronavirus is a bit depressing because it's pretty much killing everything. We can't even do our normal life stuff. Like, I can't even go to the movies or out to eat with, my girlfriend. And her birthday is Monday. So it sucks to not really be able to do no big extravagant plans. It sucks. It sucks so bad. But, last issues. I have issues falling back when I apply pressure. When do you know when you should fall back defensively? Ooh, that's more so a defensive question. But you know what? No, I guess offense is still a thing here. Well, this goes back to that kind of intertwines with the last question you had, where knowing when to adjust on the fly. So if you know your pressure is not working, you then have to switch up your application. Like, cause you obviously don't have the combo lever where that's already in the cards, but that's not for stream talk. But yeah, you have to know when to switch up your application. And when you switch up your application, you could still keep your pressure up, but you just then would apply it differently. And applying it differently allows you to not really lose your pressure. And when you switch up your patterns, switch up how you do things, then that's, of course, you have to know when to stop though, and that's just knowing when to pump the brakes. That's all that is. But if you don't want to lose your pressure, because it's different to stop and then you all of a sudden you lose your pressure and your momentum and all that. But to keep it up, it's like yeah, we'll even go to, like Flying Impact said, we'll even go back to matter of fact, let's go back to that slide real quick. Offensive spacing. You can literally do that. Offensive spacing is pretty much putting yourself at the range or space where you can still apply offense. And that means knowing what basic attack to use, where, okay, I'm at a range where I can still keep my pressure up, but also keep myself safe, per se. That's what you pretty much trying to figure out, Magus, is how do I apply my pressure, but don't make myself lose advantage. That's pretty much where you're getting at, and that's how you do it. You will put yourself, again, going back to the Lars example, that's like when I use my down forward 1, I keep myself at a range where I can do two things. I can still play offense and keep the pressure up on you, but I'm also at a range where if you mess up and you overextend, I can punish you dearly for it. And that's what you have to begin to understand and know how to do and apply when it comes to that. Yo, Armed and Armored, what's up? Hey, you was in the late night stream from last night. You back in here? That's what's up. Definitely appreciate that. But yeah, that's pretty much where you're trying to get to, and that's knowing how to effectively apply pressure, but not losing your advantage or turn. And it's important to understand how to do that, because that's how you maintain pressure. Because most people, they understand about applying pressure, but they don't know how to maintain it. And when you don't know how to maintain it, oh my God, you didn't wonder why you can't keep your offense going, and why do I keep falling victim or keep getting launched or counter hit punished, or people keep interrupting my offense with crush moves and stuff like that. And it's like, well, are you properly applying your offense? Are you keeping yourself safe to the point where if they try to retaliate, you can then switch gears and play defense and then punish them and then reassert yourself on offense? Because it's pretty much a pendulum. It can swing back and forth, and you have to know how to, again, you have to know how to put your pedal to the floor, and then you have to know how to ease off of it, but not necessarily totally hitting the brakes when it comes to offense. Like, you know how when you driving and you put your pedal to the floor and be flooring it, and then you have to know how to ease your foot up off that gas but still cruise. That's offense in a nutshell. Like, being super effective with it. You gotta know your moments when you can put the pedal to the floor and just destroy somebody, and then you have to know how to ease up off of that if they being more attentive on defense and still keeping some form of the cruise going, but not totally hitting the brakes and stopping, and then they flip the script on you, and now you're like, damn, I'm in a situation now. Wow. Wow, that was random. I always have a funny moment, random moment like that in the stream. But yeah, that's pretty much what Megas what you're getting at, as far as knowing how to apply your offense and pressure, but not putting yourself in danger. Because that's the ultimate key. Is I want to put you under pressure. I want to play offense. I want to do all this, but then again, I don't want to kill myself in the process neither. And that's important. So that was a good question. That was actually a good question. Glad that you asked that. So the tournament is pretty much beginning to go underway. I know I had a bye, so I'm kind of waiting. And right now the first match is up, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast here. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Definitely appreciate it, especially those who rocked out with me last night and was in the late night stream. You know, that was kind of impromptu because I wasn't even sure if I was on stream, but I was in such a bad mood that I just had to play some Tekken and just have some fun with the fam. As some good games and some funny moments, and that definitely was a good remedy. I definitely was no longer mad no more, so that definitely helped. But yeah, definitely another dope episode. I had a lot of fun doing this episode. Like I said, even had fun with the title, with I take offense to that. That's normally the sentence people use when something truly offends them. Well, we like puns, ladies and gentlemen. We like puns here. We love them. We love them. We love them. We love them. We love playing off things. But yeah, I'm glad y'all enjoyed the episode. I hope it was very informative for you guys. I usually try to make these podcasts informative and to truly try to help players, because a lot of people will they'll say things and all that and pretty much keep it at basic level, and then you leave players still lost and still wondering and still don't know where to go and still wondering what's going on. And with these podcasts, with these episodes, I try to make the information as easy to understand and as relatable as possible, because the best way to relay information is to make it very understandable. When something is very relatable and easy to understand, it's easier to grasp, and therefore the knowledge actually gets absorbed. Because it's like being in school and you got that one professor that just has the book open, and yeah, it's telling you exactly what's there, but it's not really, that said professor is not really making it soak into you and you understand. That's the difference between a teacher who just is there for a paycheck versus someone who just enjoys teaching. Because the ones that enjoy it are going to make sure that not only do you enjoy the actual course, but that you actually learn something and take it in. And that's what I try to be. I hear a lot of people say they love the way I explain stuff, the way I break things down, and how I make it very understandable. That's part of why I wanted to start the podcast, because I wanted to talk on these topics, but I also, like I said, wanted another way to be able to interact with my followers. And yeah, y'all be in the stream, when I had a gameplay, but I'm playing. I'm still interacting and laughing with y'all and stuff like that. But the podcast is more per se intricate, more intimate, and more close knit, because I'm directly talking to y'all for real, and it's a discussion. It's not so much as just a lecture, but a discussion, because y'all in the chat and y'all are giving y'all 2 cents and saying, what y'all know, what y'all think and stuff like that. So that's another reason why I enjoy them. Yo, appreciate it, Megas. It's cool to hear that. I'm glad that people find it effective, and that's just gonna keep me going and keep me doing it. So with that being said, be sure to follow and subscribe on here. The next giveaway for the stream will be in April. Follow me on Twitter, which is at ltrain_313, to hear when and what it's going to be. But you have to be one of the conductors. You have to be a conductor. You have to be subscribed. And it doesn't matter how you subscribe. I tell people, if you have Twitch Prime and you want to use that free subscription that you get, use it here. You still eligible. It does not matter. We do not discriminate here. Of course, subscribe to my YouTube, which is L Train's Fighting Dojo, which is where all these episodes also go after they're being done live. I archive them here too, but I know a lot of people use YouTube to watch stuff as well. So these episodes are readily available to y'all on YouTube as well. L Train's Fighting Dojo. Be sure to subscribe to me on there and support me on there as well. Also, follow my Facebook gaming page. I'll be doing some streaming from there too, but I said I probably still do fighting games sometimes on there too, but the one player games I may do those streams. I don't know. I'm trying to make that page useful, because with me being on Twitch and being an affiliate and all that on here, I can't really multi-stream due to, that. And you can multi-stream when you're not an affiliate, but once you're an affiliate, you're usually locked down to Twitch. So you usually have to just do a separate stream somewhere else if you do want to do a separate stream. But multi-streaming, no. So trying to see how I'm gonna make that page work as far as streaming from it itself, because the Facebook gaming is actually a useful resource, and a lot of eyes travel across Facebook. Like, a lot of my streams have just by itself over 1,000 views, so the reach there, and my page is still fairly new. I think I only got like maybe 50 or 60 some followers on that page. And to rack up that many views with that low of a following. Just imagine when the numbers, let's say, the numbers match my Twitch numbers, then the views gonna be retarded. Go for 22. Thanks for the follow. But yeah, so follow me on Twitter at LTrain_313. Subscribe on the YouTube, L Train's Fighting Dojo. Of course, follow and subscribe on here. Like I said, if you got Twitch Prime, that's a subscription right there. Don't cost you nothing. Or if you want to do any of the other subscriptions, trying to get my subscriber numbers up to open more access to the emotes and more perks and stuff like that. So, but gotta get the numbers up to get more emote slots. So y'all be sure to show love and support, because I got some cool emote ideas too. Y'all know I have a lot of funny sayings and mannerisms during my gameplay stream, so I'm trying to turn them into emotes too. So y'all be sure to help me reach that goal as well. Definitely would be greatly appreciated. But I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and as I said, I'm going to host the channel where the tournament is going down at, that I'm about to play in, and that's my homie Alex Malone, aka Grand Kai Gaming, and that's the name of his channel, Grand Kai Gaming. So I'm gonna just go ahead and host that. This episode will shortly be up on my YouTube page. I'm gonna work on that in the background while doing this. So thanks for tuning in to today's episode 4. I take offense to that. Another great episode of Train of Thought with yours truly, L Train, and I will holler at y'all. The next episode will be Why You So Defensive, and that's going to focus on the defensive side of things. That episode probably will not air until the first Saturday in April, so it's going to be a little break, and that's due to me playing in online tournaments. And then next weekend, my boy iHigh, or Hataiki Kakashi as y'all may know, who hosts the Tekken school classes on Wednesday and Thursdays. In light of Michigan Masters being canceled due to the coronavirus, we are running a 64-man cap online tournament. I think, you know what? I need to put the link of that. It's on PC, by the way. So, if y'all want to participate in that, let me grab that link and put it in here. So if y'all are not busy next Saturday and you're on PC and you have time, be sure to try to join that tournament. Hold on, I just grabbed this link. And you say you're sadly in Europe? Oh yeah, that's unfortunate. It'd been nice if you were able to join in, but let me see, paste. But that is the link. It is called Mitten Madness, and if you are on PC and you have time next week, might as well go ahead and enter and make use of that time. It's only $5 entry, a 64-man cap. On PC is going down Saturday, and I believe the tourney, the actual tourney itself, I think broken down in sequence. Pool A will start at 11 a.m. The B pools will start at 2 p.m. and top 8 will begin promptly at 5 p.m. And that's the schedule for that. So if you have time and you want to join in, it is region. We're trying to region lock it just, for connectivity purposes. So it is region restrictions to ensure the best connections possible and just not for too many hiccups. So if you are in the Midwest, Northeast, Southeast, and if you're in Canada, if you're in the Windsor and Toronto areas, all those areas are welcome. So again, Midwest, Northeast, Southeast, Windsor, and Toronto. So if you have the time to do so, I would and you're in those areas, I would recommend, and you're on PC, I would recommend joining that tournament and having some fun. You know, since we can't go to offline tournaments right now, I'm so depressed about that because this weekend would have been final round. I mean, even though I wasn't going this year anyway, because due to, you know, the ladies' B-Day this weekend or whatever. So trying to celebrate with her. And this is the first birthday of us being together because we've been friends already. And I'm like, that first birthday, yeah, we can't do that. I can make that work the second birthday or the third birthday. But, you know, outside of that, again, thanks for tuning in. I just had to plug that tournament. So I'm going to wrap this up. Going to go ahead and get this episode onto YouTube. And y'all be sure to, you know, check it out or whatever. You can rewatch it on there as well. And it will be archived and highlighted on here too. But I am outie because I have to get ready to play soon. So, deuces.